Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Milestone Day of Startup Studio Indonesia Batch 3. I hope that everyone is doing well and all in great health. So everyone, my name is Amelia and I'll be your master of ceremony for today's Milestone Day event. To start, please allow us to first extend our warmest welcome to Mr. Samuel Abriani Pangarapan, the Director General of Informatics Application of the Ministry of Communication and Informatics of the Republic of Indonesia, Mr. Italo Gani, the Managing Partner at Impactu, and Mr. Sony Hendra Sudaryana, the Digital Startup Coordinator from the Ministry of Communications and Informatics of the Republic of Indonesia, Mr. Adrian Girlrandi, the CEO and co-founder of Practice, and Mr. Melvin Sumapong, the CEO and co-founder of Justika. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd also like to welcome all 15 great startups of Startup Studio Indonesia Batch 3. Everyone from the media, all coaches, venture capital and government representatives and other invitees. Ladies and gentlemen, to start, please allow us to all sing Indonesia's national anthem, Indonesia Raya. Ladies and gentlemen, on this milestone day, we're going to have a panel discussion, and together we'll be discussing building sustainable digital ecosystem for Indonesia with our great panelists. And then we'll continue with 15 business presentations from Startup Studio Indonesia Batch 3 startup founders after 4 incredible months of intensive coaching from our active and prominent startup founders. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start our panel discussion, let us show you a glimpse of the incredible journey of our startups.
Startup Studio Indonesia adalah sebuah program pengembangan startup digital intensif yang diselenggarakan oleh Kementerian Komunikasi dan Informatika. Program ini menyediakan akses, mentoring, dan networking bagi para pegiat startup digital nasional yang ingin mengembangkan usahanya. Inisiatif program ini sejalan dengan mandat dari Presiden Bapak Joko Widodo untuk melakukan akselerasi transformasi digital.
Untuk menciptakan ekosistem yang tepat, pemerintah Indonesia mendorong transformasi digital dalam 3 elemen esensial, yaitu pemerintahan, ekonomi, dan masyarakat. Ketiga elemen tersebut dibingkai dalam framework Indonesia Digital Nation,
di mana salah satu arahannya adalah penyediaan talenta atau SDM digital yang berkualitas.
Saya percaya kreativitas dan produktivitas itu berbanding lurus dengan demokrasi. Karena di dalam demokrasi kita terlatih dan dilatih.
Media itu nggak gampang sih. Jadi apapun yang kita perlu lewati ya kita lewati, tapi kita tetap fokus ke tujuan akhir kita begitu.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Startup Studio Indonesia's Milestone.
Kami adalah salah satu peserta dari program Startup Studio. Startup Studio ini program yang cukup unik ya. Program Startup Studio ini langsung menghubungkan kita dengan founder level, dan kemudian kita bisa langsung belajar ya.
Dia care banget sama kita, mereka tahu masalah kita apa, dan mereka memberikan bantuan yang pas sekali dengan apa yang kita hadapi.
Batch kedua dari Startup Studio Indonesia akan berlangsung pada April hingga Juli 2021 dan diikuti oleh 15 startup yang terpilih dari 1063 pendaftar dengan keterlibatan lebih dari 60 mentor terkemuka. Saya berharap bahwa program Startup Studio dapat mencetak dan mengembangkan skala bisnis dari 150 startup digital Indonesia hingga tahun 2024.
Hello everyone, selamat bergabung di Opening Ceremony Founders Camp Startup Studio Indonesia Batch kedua.
Venture capitalists evaluate startups. Great. I can see a couple of nods from the audience. Try to help explain a little bit more about the way that investors evaluate startups.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Milestone Day of Startup Studio Indonesia Batch 2.
Selamat kepada 15 startup yang mengikuti program Startup Studio Indonesia Batch ketiga. Program ini akan berlangsung mulai bulan September hingga bulan Desember tahun 2021.
Selamat datang di acara Opening Founders Camp Startup Studio Indonesia Batch 3.
I think finding engineers is taking a long time, right? It's going to take a while. So if you start now, you might keep getting talents. It's just so important.
Terima kasih untuk Startup Studio Indonesia.
Thank you so much for Startup Studio Indonesia.
Terima kasih program Startup Studio Indonesia. Sukses selalu.
What amazing talents and what incredible journey. So ladies and gentlemen, next, let us all welcome the opening speech from Mr. Samuel Abriani Pangarapan, the Director General of Informatics Application from the Ministry of Communication and Informatics of the Republic of Indonesia.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan, salam sehat untuk kita semua. Dalam upaya mewujudkan Indonesia Digital Nation, Kominfo menjalankan beberapa program pembinaan startup digital, salah satunya Startup Studio Indonesia. Program ini berfokus untuk menjawab tantangan early stage startup dalam menghadapi ketidakpastian pasar dan siap untuk go the extra miles. Melalui iterasi penyempurnaan produk, model bisnis, serta perbaikan retensi pengguna sebelum memasuki tahap perluasan pasar. Startup Studio Indonesia hadir untuk memperkuat dan melengkapi program pemberdayaan startup digital yang dijalankan oleh Kominfo, yaitu Gerakan Nasional 1000 Startup Digital dan Hub.id. Melalui program Startup Studio Indonesia, Kominfo berharap startup yang bergabung dapat mengakselerasi skala bisnisnya dari segi jumlah pengguna, jumlah pendapatan, penyerapan tenaga kerja, dan pendanaan dari venture capital. Kini Startup Studio Indonesia telah memasuki batch ketiga. Pada September 2020, kami telah sukses meluncurkan Startup Studio Indonesia batch pertama dengan membina 20 startup di tahap early stage dengan tujuan membangun semangat kolaborasi antara pelaku startup untuk bersama-sama membangun ekosistem digital untuk transfer pengetahuan, pembangunan karakter, dan kompetensi startup yang berdaya saing. Hingga kini program Startup Studio Indonesia telah membina 50 startup digital. Di antara startup tersebut terdapat beberapa startup yang telah mencapai milestone-nya. Sebanyak 5 startup berhasil mendapatkan investasi dari venture capital, yaitu Justika, Fitloop, Veryhub, Lingotalk, dan 1000. Target kami untuk program Startup Studio Indonesia ini adalah mencetak 150 startup berkualitas hingga tahun 2024. Semenjak program ini dijalankan, minat terhadap program ini semakin hari semakin meningkat. Hal ini dapat dilihat dari peningkatan jumlah pendaftaran yang mencapai lebih dari 100% dari batch sebelumnya. Pada batch ketiga ini, dari sekitar 5.700 pendaftar, kami harus menyeleksi secara ketat startup yang akan masuk ke dalam program Startup Studio Indonesia. Setelah melalui rangkaian program, kini batch ketiga telah mencapai tahap akhir, yaitu milestone day, di mana 15 startup akan memaparkan bisnisnya dan capaiannya selama mengikuti Startup Studio Indonesia. Dalam waktu 5 bulan, telah ada 360 sesi coaching yang kami fasilitasi dengan lebih dari 80 praktisi startup terkemuka yang terdiri dari founder startup dan tim produk startup di Indonesia. Antara lain, Sendit, Shipper, Happy Fresh, Sayurbox, dan masih banyak lainnya. Tentunya dukungan Kominfo pada alumni dari program ini tidak berhenti saat lulus dari milestone D saja. Kami akan terus mendampingi mereka dalam perkembangannya melalui program alumni yang akan berlangsung selama 1 tahun ke depan. Melalui acara ini, kami berharap Anda yang menyaksikan dapat ikut menyebarkan kabar baik dan saling berkolaborasi guna mendukung perkembangan dari produk-produk yang para founder kembangkan. Dan tak lupa saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada para pihak yang telah mendukung terlaksananya program Startup Studio Indonesia Batch ketiga. Semoga perjuangan 15 startup ini akan membawa banyak manfaat bagi perekonomian bangsa, membuka banyak lapangan pekerjaan baru, dan membawa ekosistem digital Indonesia go the extra miles. Dengan internet kita merdeka dalam berkarya, dengan kolaborasi kita ciptakan inovasi. Karena Indonesia maju mulai dari kamu. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Santi, Santi, Santi Om.
What profound message and remarks. Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel. The government's involvement and support undoubtedly marks a significant and pivotal commitment to advancing startup ecosystems growth and digital transformation here in Indonesia towards becoming Southeast Asia's leading digital economy. And next, let us start today's panel discussion on building sustainable digital ecosystem for Indonesia. They'll be moderated by Zahra Damariva, the partner at Impacto. But Zahra, I hope that you're doing well, and I'm sure you're very excited to be moderating this very much needed topic. Nah, sebelumnya nih saya mau nanya kepada Mbak Zahra mengenai pengalamannya saat menjadi coach di batch 3 ini seperti apa?
Menarik sekali ya, ini dari batch 1, batch 2, batch 3 gitu ya. Kita selalu membimbing startup gitu as a coach, as a facilitator gitu ya. Dan kelihatan sekali memang di batch ini banyak sekali beragam nih Mbak Amel gitu ya. Jadi dari segi mungkin sektornya itu sangat sekali beragam gitu. Kita menerima mungkin kali ini ada fisheries, kita ada juga mungkin lebih banyak IoT gitu ya di batch ini. Berbeda dengan batch sebelumnya yang mungkin lebih banyak edutech dan sebagainya. Jadi memang kelihatan sekali beragam sekali startupnya dan menunjukkan bahwa memang Indonesia ini semakin memiliki keragaman dari jenis sektor startup ya. Jadi memang menarik sekali nih Mbak Amel untuk coaching dari Startup Studio Indonesia batch 3 ini.
Luar biasa sekali, jadi keragaman ini yang tentu harus kita highlightnya. Well, Mbak Zahra, the floor is yours now to moderate the panel discussion.
Oke, selamat siang semuanya, selamat datang di Building a Sustainable Digital Ecosystem. Hari ini sebenarnya diskusi kita santai aja. Sebenarnya kita hari ini kedatangan very exciting speakers juga, ada 3 speaker yang menarik sekali. Pertama saya kedatangan Bapak Sony Hendra Sudaryana, Koordinator Startup Digital dari Kementerian Komunikasi dan Informatika Republik Indonesia. Pak Sony, apa kabar? Oke, ini kita udah kedatangan Pak Sony, ada di studio juga gitu ya. Oke, berikutnya kita kedatangan juga Melvin Sumapung, CEO and co-founder dari Justika, ada Legal Service Marketplace yang berfokus untuk membuat masalah hukum menjadi lebih sederhana dan lebih terjangkau untuk masyarakat Indonesia. Mas Melvin ini joining us online. Hi Mas Melvin. Hi, how are you? Oke, and we also have Mas Adrian Gilrandi atau saya biasanya manggil Mas Agil, CEO and co-founder dari Praktis, startup penyedia solusi rantai pasokan berbasis data untuk brand direct to consumer. Hai Mas Agil, how are you? Mas Adrian kali manggilnya ya, karena ini kita hari ini nggak ngobrol, kita hari ini lebih agak ada di studio juga gitu kan, ada teman-teman online juga gitu ya. So thank you so much for coming. Jadi hari ini pengen ngobrol banyak sebenarnya mengenai Kominfo gitu ya, yang membuat Startup Studio Indonesia juga, terus habis itu juga melihat sebenarnya apa sih yang kita lagi pingin achieve gitu ya dengan membuat Startup Studio Indonesia. Dan dari batch 1 nih, teman-teman di batch 1 ada Praktis, ada Justika, ini apa sih update-nya, where are you now gitu kan, gimana produknya udah sampai mana dan how are you doing gitu ya dari segi start. Mungkin aku move forward dulu ya, sebelum kita menyapa-nyapa nih yang ada online nih, itu kebetulan kita juga ada Mas Sony, ini online ada hadir di studio gitu ya. Ini menarik sekali karena Mas Sony kita udah masuk ke batch ketiga gitu ya Startup Studio Indonesia. Jadi pingin dong diceritain gitu kan seputar sebenarnya perkembangan dari Startup Studio Indonesia sendiri dari batch pertama hingga sekarang di batch ketiga ini. Boleh nggak diceritain dulu journey-nya kali ya Mas ya membuat Startup Studio Indonesia, sebelum aku balik lagi nih ke startup-startup yang ada online lagi datang juga.
Makasih Sarah untuk ini ya. Jadi Startup Studio itu dimulai justru ketika pandemi ya. Jadi kita mulai ide brainstorming tuh di akhir 2019, kemudian di 2020 kita run batch pertama. Sebenarnya lebih fokusnya lebih untuk ngebantu teman-teman yang ada di early stage ini, karena di stage early ini yang sangat krusial antara dia bisa growth tinggi atau bukan mati sih, lebih kayak
mungkin stagnan ya,
nggak
ada
ya,
growth, nggak ada exponential
mati,
growth
tapi
gitu ya.
nggak bisa growth juga. Jadi kita ngelihat ada missing middle di situ. Makanya kita coba address untuk ngebantuin teman-teman yang lagi di stage itu. Dan fokusnya dari batch pertama kita juga mungkin running programnya juga mungkin seperti startup juga ya. Jadi di awal kita juga nggak ngerti seperti gimana, dan alhamdulillah berkat bantuan dari rekan-rekan ya, coach segala macam, ini sebenarnya bukan merupakan program gotong royong ya antara pemerintah fokusnya di sini lebih ke facilitate dan mungkin kolaborator ya, dan yang lebih paham mungkin teman-teman coach dan juga yang kontribusi terhadap program ini bukan cuman dari 1 atau 2 perusahaan startup, tapi lebih dari 80 80 coach, speakers dari berbagai background sektor dan juga berbagai perusahaan.
Menarik. Dan ini saya tadi sempat nonton waktu kita di video itu, ada dulu awalnya mungkin 600 pendaftar, lalu naik ke 1063, lalu kemarin 5723 pendaftar gitu. Jadi memang kelihatan sekali animonya ini sangat meningkat gitu. Dan menarik tadi sebenarnya karena saya juga coaching ya Mas Sony ya. Jadi kita melihat kayak wow, ada sekarang banyak kita mulai dari kesehatan mental, mulai banyak startup yang menarik gitu ya. Sebenarnya problem-problem yang mau di-solve, ada perikanan, ada fisheries, ada IoT gitu ya. Jadi menarik sekali nih ya perkembangan dari batch pertama ke batch ketiga. Tapi mungkin pingin menyapa kembali lagi nih ke Mas Adrian gitu ya, dan ke Mas Melvin gitu ya, yang lagi ada online juga gitu. Karena kebetulan Mas Adrian dan Mas Melvin ini dari batch pertama gitu kan. Jadi pingin ngobrol-ngobrol dulu nih, where are you guys right now gitu kan. Dan mungkin dari tadi aku nanya ke Justika ya tadi ya, ke Melvin dulu, nanti baru ke Mas Agil. Perkenalan dulu dong, sebenarnya Justika ini apa sih mungkin buat teman-teman yang belum tahu, dan where are you now, apa yang sedang di-build saat ini gitu ya. Silakan Melvin.
Oke, halo semuanya. Iya, jadi basically Justika sih simpelnya sih ya kayak Halodoc tapi buat lawyers aja gitu ya. Jadi kita pengen ambil bagian kita juga untuk bantu berinovasi secara teknologi dan dari sisi startupnya juga, untuk gimana caranya biar masyarakat Indonesia lebih punya akses lebih banyak terhadap keadilan gitu. Pada dasarnya Justika kayak gitu sih. Terus saat ini dari sejak Startup Studio batch 1 itu, dari sisi tim kita mungkin berkembang kurang lebih 2-3 kali lipat dari sisi jumlah tim. Terus dari sisi user kita grow sekitaran segitu. Terus juga kita juga udah raise fund juga sih. Jadi Startup Studio tuh kayak jadi launchpad juga nih untuk kita bener-bener sejak saat itu bisa bergerak lumayan jauh lebih cepat lah gitu.
Oke, nah ini menarik ya, nanti kita akan bahas lagi gimana sebenarnya menjadi launchpad ini apa. Tapi kita nanti discuss lagi sambil jalan gitu ya. Mungkin ke Mas Adrian dulu nih. Ini menarik nih karena Mas Adrian ini baru rebranding kayak dari dulu namanya kita di awal PTS.SC, sekarang menjadi Praktis. Ini menjadi nama yang baru gitu kan, company yang baru juga. Boleh sharing nggak Mas sebenarnya apa sih problem yang ingin di-solve oleh Praktis gitu, dan sebenarnya boleh di-share nggak sekarang tuh apa yang lagi dikembangkan dan produknya sampai mana? Mas Adrian? Oke, mungkin nih Mas Adrian belum bisa mendengar kita ya. Melvin mungkin dengar, Melvin online dengar kita ya?
Barusan keputus juga Zahra sedikit.
Oke, siap. Mungkin aku move forward dulu nih sebelum Mas Adrian kurang terdengar nih suaranya nih. Oke, nggak apa-apa. Let me move forward dulu nih mungkin ya. Pingin tanya-tanya dulu sih. Sebenarnya menarik karena dari Startup Studio Indonesia sendiri ini sebenarnya kan fokusnya ke product market fit. Ini kan product market fit ini kan sebenarnya sebuah fase yang kadang-kadang selalu digembor-gemborkan product market fit. Tapi kenapa sampai Startup Studio Indonesia ini fokusnya ke product market fit gitu ya? Mungkin ingin Mas Sony boleh, karena Mas Sony ada di sini, ceritain dong Mas Sony apa sih product market fit ini dan kenapa gitu ya? Dari Kominfo melihat product market fit ini fokusnya gitu ya mungkin ya.
Ya, makasih Zara. Sebelumnya aku nyapa Adrian sama Melvin ya. Khususnya Adrian ya. Namanya jadi lebih praktis sekarang. Produk PTS.SC sekarang lebih praktis. Ini ya, kenapa kita fokus ke product market fit? Karena kita ngelihat banyak perusahaan startup yang berguguran di situ. Dan kita ngelihat bahwa dibutuhkan lebih dalam lagi khususnya experience dari kakak-kakak startup yang udah mengalami hal itu. Makanya dari 60 fasilitator ahli itu rata-rata kita konsepnya kan one on one session ya. Jadi lebih dalam ngobrolnya, lebih deep lah, lebih intim karena akan menceritakan spesifik pengalaman dari coachnya dan apa yang sedang dialami oleh founder yang ikutan di Startup Studio. Jadi konsepnya emang berbeda, kita less classes tapi lebih banyak brainstorming dan kita bikin lebih intimate biar lebih kebuka, ngobrolnya lebih open. Kan kalau ada banyak peserta kan kadang kita nahan ya. Jadi fokusnya ke situ dan kita yakin bahwa daripada kesalahannya dilakukan sendiri ya, kita lebih baik belajar dari kesalahan orang lain.
Betul. Ya, jadi sebelum melakukan kesalahannya, jadi belajar dulu dari yang mungkin dulu sudah mengalami, mungkin bukan kesalahan tapi tantangannya juga gitu ya Mas Sony ya, benar-benar menarik. Oke, nah ini menyambung ini mungkin di studio dan ini jadi agak ada kita tidak connected nih, cuman gak apa-apa gitu ya. Mungkin aku ingin melanjutkan dulu sini, sebenarnya pertanyaannya menarik, aku akan nanya banyak ke Mas Sony dulu sebelum aku get back ke tim teman-teman dari founders gitu ya. Jadi nanti kita akan get back lagi ke teman-teman dari founders, tapi tadi kita ngomongin soal product market fit, nanti kita tanya langsung Mas Sony ya, sama Agil dan sama Melvin dulu ada apa aja sih, diceritain apa aja sih sama coach-coach kita gitu ya. Menarik Mas Sony, kita kan tadi ngomongin soal product market fit ini ada juga sebenarnya kita ingin membangun ekosistem digital yang lebih sustainable juga gitu ya dengan kolaborasi tadi gitu ya. Nah sebenarnya harapannya gitu ya, dari Startup Studio Indonesia ini mau mencetak, tadi kan dari Pak Sam sudah sempat ada speech mengenai mau mencetak 150 gitu kan. Harapannya ini untuk biasanya Startup Studio ini apakah setelahnya ada tindak lanjutnya kah gitu, misalnya dari startup tidak hanya ikut program tapi ada tindak lanjut juga program selanjutnya atau apa gitu, ada nggak sih Mas Sony?
Ya, makasih Zara. Jadi untung juga ya aku hadir offline, jadi ada technicalnya bisa.
Betul nih, jadi kena pertanyaan terus Mas Sony ya, maaf nih ya.
Ya, jadi menarik ya, yang sebenarnya simple ketika launch program pertama, indikator kesuksesan atau KPI ku simple. KPI ku adalah kesuksesan startup-startupnya.
Yeah.
Kalau startupnya nggak sukses, KPI ku nggak kecapai. Jadi untuk mencapai startupnya bisa sukses, gimana ngukurnya kan? Jadi kita bukan cuman sekedar jumlah alumni atau jumlah startup yang masuk program ataupun numbers yang besar, tapi kita fokus ke kesuksesannya Dan indikatornya yang kita ukur ada 4. Yang pertama adalah peningkatan atau perkembangan dari jumlah user. Kemudian yang kedua adalah jumlah revenue. Yang ketiga bagaimana startup itu bisa nyerap lebih banyak tenaga kerja, direct maupun indirect ya, langsung ataupun enggak. Tapi juga kita ngelihat yang terakhir adalah sesuai dengan semangat pemerintah, yaitu investasi. Jadi berapa atau bagaimana startup itu bisa mendapatkan investasi. Dan alhamdulillah sekarang di pemerintah juga fokus juga terhadap investment kepada startup. Mungkin beberapa tahun terakhir ini udah mulai banyak bermunculan venture capital, dan yang terakhir dari pemerintah kemarin launching Merah Putih Fund. Dan itu emang didesain untuk spesifik di early stage startup, dan itu salah satu bentuk komitmen pemerintah. Jadi nggak cuma selesai di program, tapi secara umum kita nyoba ngebangun ekosistemnya. Dan yang paling penting adalah startup studio ini adalah lebih ke wadah buat teman-teman startup founders yang udah sukses lebih dulu untuk bisa berkontribusi kepada ekosistem atau startup-startup yang early di bawahnya. Jadi salah satu peran Kominfo adalah mengkolaborasikan itu. Para startup founders yang udah lebih sukses dan lebih berpengalaman bisa kontribusi kepada ekosistem yang ada di bawahnya. Itu salah satu indikator atau KPI dari kita.
Menarik. Oke, aku udah bisa denger nih ya teman-teman yang di online nih ya. Oke, Mas Agil boleh sharing sedikit dong. Sorry ya dari tadi kita belum balik dari gini ke Mas Agil. Silakan Mas Agil.
Halo Zahra, halo Pak Sony. Sekarang udah kedengeran ya suaranya?
Udah, aku udah bisa denger nih.
Siap, thank you waktunya. Halo teman-teman semua. Perkenalkan saya Agil, co-founder dari Praktis. Sedikit cerita, a bit story about the business. Praktis ini kita sebut sebagai operating system for direct-to-consumer brands. We provide services mulai dari sourcing production, logistic distribution, sampai order management and inventory management untuk direct-to-consumer brands. Karena kita ngelihat pain points yang dihadapi para pemain D2C di market, di bisnis adalah most of the cases mereka adalah orang-orang yang sangat kuat mengerti, memahami tentang market, trend, design the product, tapi lack of competency and need support untuk operations management end-to-end tadi dari scope service yang kita lihat. Itu service kami. Sedikit update tentang how's the business right now. We've been experiencing a very great performance ya, I think this year. Dan itu semua karena SSI sih, salah satu faktornya. Thank you nih ya, Pak Sony, Mbak Zahra, dan kawan-kawan.
Alhamdulillah.
Kita grow 12 kali year on year. Dan juga alhamdulillahnya sekarang jadi semakin solid in terms of team building, management, dan itu semua karena banyak dapetin very good insight through this program.
Oke, menarik. So, ini tadi sebenarnya udah diomongin sama Melvin, sama Mas Agil juga. Tapi pingin tanya nih satu-satu ya. Boleh nggak sih di-share dong? Kan tadi Mas Sony udah cerita kita fokus ke product market fit gitu kan. Pingin cerita, tapi key difference gitu ya. Dari growth kan tadi udah 12 kali. Tapi waktu join SSI di awal, apa yang bikin kalian merasa memang SSI ini impactful buat bisnis kalian dan growth tadi gitu ya. Sebelum dan setelah mungkin boleh diceritain nggak nih? Mungkin dari Mas Melvin dulu kali. Karena Mas Melvin ini kan tadi udah nanya Mas Agil ke Mas Melvin dulu. Gimana Mas Melvin?
Oke, well thank you so much pertanyaannya. Ada banyak banget sih yang kita dapetin gitu ya. Ya well kayak yang tadi di awal banget dibilang sama Pak Samuel gitu. Yang penting kan sustainable dan keberlanjutan, bukan cuma berhenti. Dan kita kan bikin bisnis bukan cuman pas di SSI doang. Bisnisnya setelah SSI berjalan kan terus berjalan gitu. Nah yang key differences-nya emang benar-benar berasa dan keep on kita bisa implement, yaitu yang paling penting itu ketemu sama mentor-mentornya gitu ya, yang kemarin gitu. Kita sempat ngobrol sama Bang Tabah sama Bang Fajar tuh terkait growth hacking. Itu benar-benar diajarin sampai dalam banget waktu itu tentang so many things on marketing tools. Sampai sekarang pun kita masih kontak sama mereka. Itu yang pertama. Terus terkait insight-insight dari mentorship yang sampai sekarang masih bisa kita implement gitu. Dan ya sebenarnya sih by product dari situ juga ada gitu ya, kayak secara waktu itu kan di SSC juga sempat kita berkenalan dengan beberapa visi juga sempat, tapi ya itu sebagai by produknya karena kita udah sempat dibantuin sama mentor-mentornya, udah at least udah jadi improve the way we do the business. Jadi pas ketemu juga jauh lebih mateng gitu sih kurang lebih.
Oke, menarik nih Mas Melvin. Jadi tadi apa ya, lebih banyak, jadi masih even keep in touch dengan para mentor sampai sekarang gitu ya dari Mas Melvin ya. Oke. Wah, nggak terdengar nih kayaknya kita yang ada di studio nih ke Mas Melvin ya. Oke. Ya, mungkin
cek kedengeran,
ya,
Mel.
Kedengeran gak nih? Kita nggak kedengeran ya. Oke, kedengeran nih kayaknya. Oke, Mas Agil, boleh nggak diceritain the same thing? Key difference dari growth di tim sebelum dan sesudah Startup Studio Indonesia. Apa yang didapetin sih waktu selama sesi-sesi itu?
Ya, saya sih prinsipnya sih sangat berterima kasih sekali dengan program ini gitu ya. Saya selalu bilang this is the very right program for startup founders, especially for the early stage company gitu ya. Karena benar-benar tailor-made banget dibikin based on and solving the pain points of us gitu, kita para founder. Terutama salah satunya sebenarnya hal yang paling kritikal buat kita founder itu, mungkin dulu ya saya waktu masih kerja gitu di perusahaan ngerasa punya perusahaan itu enak ya, keren ya, nggak ada bosnya lagi gitu kan, nggak ada yang marahin. Tapi turns out ternyata pas udah punya perusahaan sendiri, kita itu ternyata malah bingung nggak punya atasan. Karena nggak ada yang bimbing, nggak ada direction, itu mau nanya kemana lagi, udah nggak ada lagi kan atasnya. And itu ngebikin kita sometimes bisa frustrated juga gitu. Karena nggak ada nih yang bisa ditanyain, dimintain insight dan pendapat. Dan lewat SSI menurut saya kita ditemuin sama begitu banyak startup founders yang bisa mereka willing to share pengalaman mereka gitu ya. Dan sementara sangat valid sekali karena kadang-kadang juga kita kalau cerita sama orang yang orangnya itu nggak pernah ngerasain masalah kita tuh kadang-kadang ada sulit tuh, Zahra. Gitu. Tapi sesama startup founders itu kayak ada chemistry-nya tuh dapat. Iya bro, gue ngelakuin hal yang sama, lu pasti kemarin gini ya, gitu. Itu bener-bener ini sih, it's amazing lah, gitu buat kita. Dan saya bisa bilang ya after SSI ini mindset secara company dan founders ini benar-benar berubah, akhirnya kita bisa ketemu cara untuk growth hacking.
Wah iya, oke. Jadi ini tadi kan sempat dibilang mengenai hal-hal yang very meaningful buat kalian gitu kan. Tapi kan kita ngomongin product market fit ya. Nah ada nggak sih yang diinget banget nih Mas Agil dan Mas Melvin, pernyataan any coach kalian yang wah ini sampai sekarang ada di otak saya dan saya running praktis atau Justika ini remembering that word. Ada nggak nih? Mungkin dari siapa dulu? Mas Agil dulu ya, Mas Agil dulu kali. Adrian.
Gua ada dua statement yang sebenarnya banyak ya, tapi ini bener-bener terngiang sampai sekarang dan itu bener-bener ngerubah gitu cara mindset. Pertama dari Rama, foundernya Sayur Box, dia simple ngomong kayak gini pas kita one-on-one kayak coaching gitu ya. Gil, kalau gue jadi investor, nggak akan gue invest company lo, katanya gitu ya.
Wow, ya, itu seblant itu ya, memang kadang-kadang coach kita ya.
Seblant itu, tapi itu ya maksud gue buat teman-teman juga, menurut gue kalau kita mau maju, ya jangan baper ya. Mungkin sebagian orang digituin kayak gimana gitu, tapi itu yang ngebuat gue jadi lebih bersemangat gitu untuk, kok kayak gitu, tapi itu ngebikin jadi jauh lebih baik. Dan satu pernyataan dari Italo waktu itu, Gil, gue gak ngerti bisnis lu, itu complicated dan lu ngapain sih sebenarnya gitu ya. Dan ya dua statement itu menurut gue yang bikin salah satu yang bikin kita sampai sekarang.
Dan I think kalian jadi keriman untuk I have to simplify probably the way that I share about my business, the product dan product market fitnya juga gitu ya, in a way. Kalau misalnya Melvin ada nggak mungkin I don't know things that you remember, nggak harus kata-kata persis sih, tapi hal yang mungkin diingat waktu ngobrol-ngobrol dengan coach tuh ada yang diingat sampai sekarang dan di-apply sampai sekarang nggak, Melvin?
Iya, ada banyak banget sih, tapi ada satu hal yang sekarang gue kayak wah gila ya, waktu itu sebenarnya karena waktu itu nggak percaya, tapi sekarang kepentok jadi percaya gitu.
Oke.
Jadi waktu itu sama Chris dari Sosiola, waktu itu gue nanya ya, kita as someone that has a very big vision gitu kan, maksudnya lu pengen produknya bagus banget, punya banyak banget lah yang lu pengen bikin gitu ya, fitur-fitur yang oke dan canggih-canggih gitu. Terus kita tanyain lah kalau mau memprioritaskan tuh sebenarnya gimana. Terus dia bilang nggak usah mikir yang repot-repot dan jauh-jauh lah soal advertising. Lu kayak produk lu yang standar-standar aja gitu, yang gampang-gampang aja, nggak usah yang terlalu ini. Kalau yang quality standar aja nggak masuk, nggak usah mikir yang indah-indah gitu. Nah itu sekarang kita kayak waduh, terlalu banyak bikin yang aneh-aneh dan nggak fokus ke yang bener-bener basicnya gitu.
Oke, menarik. Jadi memang tipikal dari coach startup di Indonesia ini karena one on one memang sangat bisa terbuka, very open gitu. Dan kadang-kadang mungkin dianggap ini kok jadi kesannya blunt banget gitu. Tapi I think the kindness is in the bluntness, you know gitu ya. Kalau aku selalu melihatnya seperti itu gitu. Dan jadi lebih banyak belajarnya juga karena sangat-sangat terbuka dan sangat open ekosistemnya gitu untuk bertanya. Nah mungkin banyak nih akan sebenarnya pain point startup ya. I know kayak fundraising as a pain point, PMF itu as a pain point, growth hacking dan sebagainya. Tapi Startup Studio Indonesia ini keep on focusing on product market fit. Jadi mau nanya dong nih untuk para founder startup kayak Mas Agil, Mas Melvin, do you think PMF ini kenapa sih harus jadi fokus utama di early stage gitu kan? Karena kan mungkin kan banyak sekali fokusnya, tapi finding product market fit ini selalu yang menjadi kayak oh ya, you have to find the product market fit before of everything gitu. Mungkin Mas Agil dulu nih, boleh ceritain nggak gimana?
Mungkin sedikit notes gitu buat teman-teman para founders. Banyak saya misconception gitu ya, dengar para founders, ya gue nggak bisa grow karena fundingnya limited dan segala macam. Kalau menurut saya, don't worry about funding, ya kan? Karena ibaratnya money will come when you're ready, gitu. Believe me ya, saat kali kita dapat uang tapi kita nggak siap, it's more problematic, gitu. Itu benar-benar chaos, gitu. Tapi once kita udah ketemu titiknya, kita ketemu celahnya, the money will come for you, gitu. Jadi just focus on the business, the product, karena once itu solving real problems, itu akan terreflect sama kalian punya traction, sama users, gitu ya. Dan stickiness dari ininya juga antara ya, karena kami B2B gitu ya, antara customer dengan kita, ya the money will come.
Iya, jadi memang begitu produknya ready, which is getting the product market fit is called ready lah ya gitu. Itu sebenarnya money will come, the investors will come. So focus on your product and then the money will come gitu. Mungkin ini Melvin ada point of view yang berbeda, why product market fit is actually very important untuk dicapai duluan nih gitu. Apart from all the focuses that you have.
Iya, pada dasarnya sih tadi perspektif yang dari Agil setuju banget. Dan tambahannya adalah I think kita semua as someone yang beneran pengen bikin something, pengen bikin sesuatu itu kan karena kita bener-bener pengen create a solution, create an impact, create something dari solving a problem gitu kan. Ya pada dasarnya kalau solusi yang kita bikin gak fit, dari awal kita pengen solve problem itu juga gak useful buat orang gitu. Jadi ya ujung-ujungnya kan mimpi kita buat loncat, buat kayak nggak ada di tempat yang cozy dan dapat gaji yang stabil juga nggak tercapai gitu. Jadi that's how important it is. Ditambah memang on top of itu juga the business bakal jalan kalau emang product market fit, karena once you solve people problems, people would pay money for it gitu kan.
Oke. Interesting. Ini menarik sekali karena tadi Mas Agil bilang soal memorinya yang paling teringat di coaching Mas Rama dari Sayur Box? Karena Mas Rama actually ada di sini, ada di Zoom. Hello, welcome Mas Rama gitu ya. Tadi disebut nih sebenarnya oleh Agil gitu ya, bahwa paling ingat memorinya adalah when I was coached by Rama dari Sayur Box gitu ya. Jadi it's very interesting gitu kan. Kalau Melvin sama Chris ya gitu, yang salah satu yang diingat ya gitu ya. Jadi very interesting. Jadi memang bluntness ya, ini seru banget. Oke, nah I want to move forward actually a bit into a question untuk Mas Sony juga sih sebenarnya gitu ya. Kita kan ada sesi alumni ya gitu Mas Sony. Kenapa sih sebenarnya dari Mas Sony melihat bahwa kita tetap perlu membimbing startup ini tidak hanya di program, tapi setelah program juga. Boleh diceritain nggak? Mungkin apa reason behind-nya kali gitu ya?
Ya, as a program di pemerintah kita juga ngelihat teman-teman ini banyak belajar juga. Jadi kita di pelaksana program juga banyak belajar dari masukan dari peserta, dari coach juga semua kita dengerin. Dan di retrospektif kita juga ngelihat kalau cuman program selesai graduation atau milestone day kan apa ya gitu-gitu aja. Jadi kita mantau teman-teman ini 12 bulan setelah selesai program tetap kita ada alumni program namanya. Nah di situ juga kita lebih fokusnya teman-teman nih mentoknya kemana. Jadi apakah itu mentok di kementerian atau sektor terkait. Jadi kita coba solve atau bukain pintu lah buat teman-teman dan juga yang bisa dilakukan dari sisi pemerintah ya. Terkait dari sektor ataupun akses ke market atau pengen masuk ke market-market tertentu. Dan juga kita mulai memperkenalkan kalau ada teman-teman dari alumni yang mau nerima challenge dari Kominfo untuk masuk ke market 3T. Jadi kita ada program bersama fokus ke daerah 3T. Itu juga kita nge-challenge teman-teman yang mau masuk ke sana dan memberi impact ke masyarakat di 3T.
Oke, menarik. Ini untuk teman-teman founders, even yang batch 3 sekarang kalau misalnya mau mengimplement solusinya di daerah 3T, ini benar-benar di program alumni dan juga di program kita di Startup Studio Indonesia ini bisa mendukung juga sebenarnya, membantu untuk bridging ya setidaknya ke program-program terkait 3T. Nah, kembali lagi ke Startup Studio Indonesia. Mungkin pertanyaan aku kembali ke para founders nih, ada Melvin, ada Mas Adrian, tapi mungkin Melvin dulu. Apa sih hal yang sampai sekarang masih diimplement tapi waktu itu dipelajarin di Startup Studio Indonesia? Ada nggak hal yang masih kalian implement sampai sekarang gitu di dalam company? Ada nggak Mel?
Banyak banget dan keeps on growing dari situ gitu. Jadi yang tadi di awal gitu ya sempat ngobrol sama Bang Tabah sama Fajar tentang digital marketing, growth hacking semuanya, berkenalan sama mereka juga dan ngobrol sama mereka gitu. Itu satu. Kedua, soal product organization ini dari Mas Rama juga waktu itu nanya soal kalau Mas Rama masih ingat, bisa nggak nih product organization kita pecah metriknya, bikin segala macam, perlu 2 squad, 1 squad. Waktu itu gue inget banget inputnya dari Mas Rama, nggak usah mikirin begitulah, ribet-ribet. Kalau lu 1 hari udah 100 user baru dipecah-pecah gitu misalnya itu. Jadi the way kita organize our product team juga masih sampai sekarang berdasarkan advice dari situ. Dan juga sempat juga salah satu startup yang lumayan mirip kita tapi udah jauh lebih mature di healthcare tuh Good Doctor, Danu. Waktu itu juga nyaranin salah satu ide ya untuk kayak growth hackingnya coba kerjasama dengan companies, juga sempat kita coba juga gitu. Jadi banyak sih. Oke.
Kalau dari Mas Agil ada nggak yang masih diimplementasikan nih in your company right now?
Ya, salah satunya sebenarnya yang paling fundamental itu adalah jadi founder itu harus mampu ngebikin keputusan cepat gitu ya. Jangan kebanyakan ngawang-ngawang mikir too much konseptual, akhirnya nggak gerak-gerak gitu kan. Nah salah satu yang konkret nih sebenarnya ya, again big thanks lagi ke Mas Rama ya. Kan salah satu waktu kita datang ke SSI itu one of the biggest pain point adalah organization management. Dan memang salah satu kesalahannya kita foundersnya itu nggak pernah decisive terhadap tim yang misalkan underperform dan macam-macam gitu ya. Nah ini benar-benar real case ya kan. After sessionnya Mas Rama, alhamdulillahnya saya itu baru pertama kali seumur hidup memberhentikan karyawan.
Wow.
Gitu.
Jadi menarik.
Walaupun gue itu perdebatan batin hidup ya. Di awal nggak berusaha nggak bisa terima sebenarnya statementnya Mas Rama. Mas Rama sorry kalau namanya ini banyak terpakai, but I think ini a very good example bahwa memang kita beneran kalau mau dengar tuh ya percaya gitu loh sama orang yang emang udah pernah ngejalanin beberapa step di depan kita, dan ternyata setelah itu dijalanin, kalau misalkan intinya kita tahu tujuannya itu untuk sesuatu yang baik, justru itu akan ngebantu kita jauh lebih mudah lagi ngelola perusahaan ke depan.
Menarik. Jadi lebih kayak untuk team management ya, yang menjadi sebuah hal yang kalian implement banget sampai sekarang gitu ya. Karena waktu itu saya ingat banget emang praktis itu datang di awal tuh memang lebih masalah emang aduh ini produk tim gue gitu ya. Selalu itu yang jadi concern dari kalian. Ini pertanyaan terakhir dari saya untuk semuanya, untuk Mas Sony, untuk Melvin, untuk mungkin Mas Agil juga. Kira-kira kalau startup early stage gitu ya, sebenarnya apa sih yang, apalagi nih kalau dari teman-teman yang dari founders kan, Mas Agil you just close the pre-series A, and then juga dari Melvin juga udah dapat funding gitu guys. So I wanna know apa yang bisa saran-saran untuk para startup yang ingin mencapai product market fit-nya mungkin kali gitu ya. Mungkin dari Agil, terus habis itu Melvin, dan terakhir Mas Sony di studio.
Ya. Sebenarnya product market fit simple aja. Kadang-kadang kita founder itu suka kepintaran sendiri, ngerasa pinter sendiri. Gitu loh, rasanya produk yang kita bangun, service yang kita buat itu ini diperluin gitu loh. Padahal itu semua yang tahu adalah your clients, your customers. So talk more to customers, talk to stakeholders ya kan, talk to the users, karena mereka yang tahu apa problemnya dan solve their problems. That's it.
Interesting. Jadi sebenarnya udah customer is the way that you know product market fit itu dapat atau enggak. Melvin, coba Melvin.
Yes, halo.
Okay. Ya.
Iya, jadi setuju banget sama Agil, cuman mungkin tambahannya adalah tips buat nyampe product market fit, ya ikut SSI mungkin ya kali ya. Nggak, tapi pada dasarnya kenapa deh ya? Yang itu yang tadi dari cerita, karena saat lu ikut SSI, saat gue ikut SSI kemarin banyak banget yang gue disalah-salahin dan jadi nggak melalui jalur itulah gitu ya, kayak udah jadi jauh lebih cepat kita ke jalan yang benar gitu, karena ketemu sama mentor di jalan dikasih tahu ya ada nggak 100% keterima juga, tapi at least pasti ada something yang sambil jalan course correct kita gitu, itu sih.
Oke, ini terakhir Mas Sony gimana nih Mas Sony sebagai yang menjalankan program loh.
Mungkin pesan buat startup founders ya, ini juga yang kita alamin di programnya. Jadi mungkin as a founders lebih fokus ke problems usernya, problems dari usernya, jangan fokus ke problem kalian. Jadi jangan muter-muter di problem internal, problem tim, tapi lebih fokus ke problem dari usernya. Dalam artian kalau kita lebih fokus ke problem kalian. Jadi tetap di internal kita, apalagi di birokrasi banyak masalah juga yang nggak mudah, tapi kita ngelihatnya kalau di sini juga ngelihatnya creative compliance ya. Jadi kita boleh kreatif tapi tetap compliance dengan regulasi yang ada. Dan yang terakhir itu ya fokus ke masalah user dan kurangi membahas masalah kalian as a founder. Dan mungkin sekalian saya mau ngundang teman-teman startup founders yang di seluruh Indonesia untuk bisa join program, jadi bagian keluarga besar dari Startup Studio Indonesia, dan mudah-mudahan kita bisa ngebangun bangsa ini dengan cara kita masing-masing.
Oke, menarik sekali. Jadi ini menarik tadi, fokus ke user, fokus ke masalah user, even di dalam birokrasi pun ya itu tadi creative compliance, how you actually can focus on the citizens problem gitu kan. Jadi ini menarik sekali diskusinya. So buat teman-teman juga startup founders early stage yang mungkin ingin experience the same as Agil dengan Melvin, juga mungkin bisa join ya batch berikutnya ya Mas Sony dari Startup Studio Indonesia. Dan juga sebenarnya untuk kalian bisa mungkin mindset tadi ya, lebih aku mendapat dari dua-duanya nih Melvin dan Agil, lebih fokus kayak mindsetnya banyak banget dibantu untuk di-sharpen the mindset of the founders gitu ya. Jadi mungkin if you want to experience that, silahkan join Startup Studio Indonesia Batch 4 di tahun depan. Nah mungkin untuk menutup diskusi, jadi menarik sekali hari ini kita udah kedatangan founders dari Batch 1, udah tahu juga progres dari Mas Agil, dari Praktis, dari Justika. Terima kasih banyak untuk Mas Agil, Mas Melvin juga, buat Mas Sony juga terima kasih banyak, dan kita juga bisa tahu sebenarnya apa yang dibutuhkan founders early stage untuk mencapai product market fit-nya. Saya kembalikan lagi ke Mbak Amelia Yahya yang ada di studio juga. Terima kasih banyak.
Well, thank you so much, Mbak Zahra, for excellently moderating this session. And thank you so much for all of our speakers for the great insights. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the technical difficulties. But in this industry, di dunia startup ini, all glitches is indeed a part of the game. So thank you so much for powering through with all of us. And next, as we reach the peak of our events, let us all welcome business presentations from our 15 incredible startups of Startup Studio Indonesia Batch 3. And here is the startup lineup. Let us see what number 1 is. So, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Vincent terlebih dahulu dari Atur Kuliner. Vincent, can you hear me? How are you today?
Hi, I'm fine.
Hi, okay, Vincent, before we start with your business presentations, please allow me to ask you one question. Nah, kita kan tahu semuanya dengan digital era seperti saat ini, bisnis kuliner has been killing it. And now my question for you is, ini Atur Kuliner ini ide awalnya itu berupa dari mana?
Jadi ide awal Atur Kuliner itu datang dari the fact bahwa bisnis itu will eventually angka failure rate of business itu is still very high. So we want to help those F&B business to be more sustainable. We help them identify where are the potential losses dan as early as possible to close lubang-lubang atau celah-celah untuk losses ke depan.
Wonderful, Vincent. Thank you so much. Well, many of us are indeed so impatient to hear the business presentations. So now let us hear it from Atur Kuliner.
Hey, we are from Atur Kuliner. We develop software both mobile and web to help F&B food service businesses to maximize profit by efficiently manage their supply chain operations. In Indonesia alone, food service contributes to 41% of national creative economy GDP, which is around 31.76 billion US dollar. It's a thriving industry with almost 10% growth year over year, which makes it worth it to solve the problems for them. Atur Kuliner just launched in April this year, and we just grew our MRR by 40% month over month. Although it looks very simple to open a new food business, running one is not that easy. They need to do marketing, they need to launch new product every month, they need to plan for productions, maintain steady supply, they need to negotiate with their suppliers, maintain the food quality, make sure that it is consistent, maintain customer satisfaction, and we can forget about scaling. I know it's a lot, and that's also how we felt during our customer development process when we talk to them. And as a result, and as the saying goes, the devil is indeed in the details. They forget to manage all the details and keeping their business running sustainably in terms of number of profitability. In fact, 90% of business, F&B business, still calculate their food costs wrong. And that's insane. We are not point of sales, and this is definitely not a point of sales problem. Existing solutions are either costly or hard to use or both of them. So customers are basically left with no choice. For the purchasing and outlet staff, Atur Kuliner make it so simple for them to predict their demand, manage the purchase orders, track goods received in real time. For inventory manager, Atur Kuliner helps them to upname their stock easily and track their inventory through their mobile phone. And for financial and operational controller and the business owner himself, we can make it so simple to do approval, to track their food costs, make audit, make a report, and make decisions within a single dashboard in real time. For all the team, we make it very simple to communicate in whatever matters, whether it's a change in product price that affects the profit margins, change in supplier, new product launch, no problem at all. And the best thing is, we make it so affordable through a monthly subscription model. So we can tap them and help them as early as possible. We aspire to be an all-in-one technology ecosystem partner for F&B SMEs that grows with them throughout their growth journey. So if you're willing to be part of our journey, please be in touch with us. Thank you.
So everyone, for those of you who would like to find out and get to know Atur Kuliner better, you can scan the QR code just now. And now next to our presentation, it is on Ayo Belajar. It is an online learning platform for students who are currently in junior high and high school to together learn more easily and with clear directions. Here it is.
Hi, I'm Faris, CEO and co-founder of Ayo Belajar, a comprehensive e-learning platform for K-12 students focusing on both one-way and two-way learning methods. As we all know, Indonesia is the fourth largest populated country in the world. However, Indonesia is still ranked in the bottom 10% globally for the education benchmark test. With a total of 55 million students on annual basis, we see that there are a number of improvements that needs to be done in Indonesia education system. We found some issues that should be fixed to improve the education quality in Indonesia. The first one is there is an uneven distribution of quality education in Indonesia. Most of the access are available only for some big cities, especially in the west part of Indonesia. Second, price for good quality education is still so expensive. There is still less availability as well of a more interactive online sessions that allow the students to have questions and answer format. Knowing those situations, we are building Ayo Belajar as the solution to those issues by opening the quality education access to all students across Indonesia. With the help of technology, providing the most competitive pricing and committed to provide a more interactive sessions through live classes and also online private sessions. What do we have in Ayo Belajar? Our platform provides a number of individual learning content such as thousands of video learnings, question banks, and also tryout tests. The contents are following the national curriculum, which cover all the subjects from math, science, social science, bahasa, and also English. We provide the biggest live session in Indonesia, running every day from Monday to Sunday with a total of 100 live classes every week. Using an advanced interactive board system, it allows the teachers to project anything from their laptop and also write down directly on the top of the board, bringing the offline classroom atmosphere into the monitor of the students. The next feature is the online private session. It's like a marketplace for teachers, allowing the students to select their own favorite teacher and then schedule one-on-one session with them. And this is an hour intensive session. Lastly, the learning management system. These platforms are actually developed to help the schools to manage all the school activities online, from checking student absences, circulate learning materials, and then do online tests, making progress report, and also holding online classes arranged by the school teachers. How about the business model? It's a simple business model. We charge on a freemium basis. We allow the students to use the app for free for the first 1 week before they finally need to subscribe to use the services. For Ayo Belajar app, we charge around 500,000 rupiah per user per year, while for the LMS, we charge around 600,000 rupiah per user per year. On top of that, the online private courses, we charge around 150,000 rupiah per session. By providing all of those features and services, we aim to make good quality education accessible to everyone that can be accessed anytime and anywhere. Thank you for your attention. Once again, I'm Faris, the co-founder and CEO of Ayo Belajar.
So we're presenting you a QR code to scan for those of you who would like to check out the businesses. So ladies and gentlemen, next from Ayo Belajar, let us move on to Bicarakan. But first, please allow me to say hello to Andre. Andre, I hope you can hear me. How are you doing?
I can. I'm good. I'm very good. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Andre. Well, Andre, as we all know, mental health awareness has been highlighted more than ever before. So could you please explain to us regarding why you have created your company?
Yeah, can I speak in bahasa?
Yes, of course. Boleh.
Okay. Simpelnya ya, bicara itu adalah langkah pertama menuju penyelesaian masalah. Kalau nggak bicara, masalahnya nggak kelar. Gitu. Aku percaya bahwa bicara adalah langkah pertama menuju penyelesaian masalah. Baik itu dia mau bicara dengan orang lain, dengan seorang profesional, atau bicara dengan dirinya sendiri, yang penting harus bicara. Kita tahu bahwa nggak semua orang bisa bicara sendiri dengan jujur depan kaca gitu ya. That's why kita bikin Bicarakan supaya orang tuh bisa bicara sama orang yang paham, seorang psikolog, orang yang paham dengan psikologi manusia dan bisa bantu mereka menemukan insight, jalan keluar buat masalah mereka. Gitu sih.
Keren banget. So, okay, now without further ado, nah untuk setelah presentasi nanti kita juga bisa semuanya untuk scan QR code to find out more about Bicarakan ya. So, ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
There are 165 million adults and young adults in Indonesia. All of them have deep and complex problems in life. But there's a lot of them that have no one to talk to. America's CDC, that Center for Disease Control, stated that 1 in 5 people will experience a mental illness in a given year. That's per year. And 1 in 5 children are either currently going through it or at some point in their life have had a seriously debilitating mental illness. Whereas the traditional solution for this, going to hospital to do face-to-face counseling, is also extremely expensive and hard to reach. That's why Bicarakan.id exists. We aim to become an ecosystem where all Indonesians can come to get quality and affordable mental health care. It's actually affordable because one of our value propositions is 100% free. Let me explain. So, if we use an analogy, there are 3 pillars that support our business model. The first one is content. We call it the vitamin for your mental health and well-being. Here, we want to educate as many Indonesians as possible about the importance of psychological well-being, how to achieve psychological well-being, and the usefulness of doing counseling. The next one is our mental health maintenance app. We call this the medicine, because through our app, our users, we call them pembicara, can log in and do daily good habits such as journaling and mindfulness meditation. And in that way, they can maintain an optimum level of mental health. Lastly, we provide online and offline counseling services with professional and certified psychologists. We call this the antibiotics, because it's aimed to help our users resolve their mental health problems and help them transform to build a better life for themselves and their loved ones. Currently, we're helping more than 1,200 people every single month, and we would love your support so we can help even more people get quality and affordable mental health care. To start, please visit our website at www.bicarakan.id. Bicarakan isi hatimu, temukan jalan keluar atas masalahmu. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bicarakan.id. And up next, we have Bolu. Bolu is a platform and community for online sellers to learn how to sell and share about their experiences. And for our guests who want to know more about Bolu, you can scan the QR codes on the screen after the presentation.
My name is Gabby, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Bolu. Bolu is a community and education app that teaches people how to sell online. Currently, there are over 64 million MSMEs in Indonesia. However, only 13.7 are selling through online mediums. Most want to learn how to sell online, but they don't know where to start. And currently, most solutions that exist offer a very passive learning experience, where learners watch or read content on their own. They can't ask questions, and they can't learn from their peers, all theory, limited case studies. In addition, those learning solutions are either not affordable, or if it's free, it's scattered all around the internet and extremely tedious to find, discouraging people from learning, which is why, in Bolu, we focus on community first and streamline our learning process. Members sign up using their phone number and immediately can ask questions in our forum, sign up for live webinars and sessions, and refer to our library of content created in-house to supplement their learning. We understand that in entrepreneurship, it's important to have a community that supports and encourages each other to learn and share experiences, which is why we are a learning platform that is community first. So, how much does it cost? Well, for our users, it's free. We monetize by offering packages to corporate partners who are interested in partnering with our community, whether that may be by placing ads in our platform to reach out to members, or through co-creation of classes where they're able to self-sell. Want to know more or partner with us? Feel free to contact us at hello@bolu.id using the QR code here for more information. See you soon.
Thank you very much, Bolu. And up next, we have Eateroo. So Eateroo is a social discovery marketplace for food lovers and the F&B community here in Indonesia, where users can browse, can discover, and directly shop from thousands of food videos of their favorite kitchens and F&B brands. And for those of you who would like to know more about Eateroo, you can scan the QR code on the screen after this presentation.
Hi, we're Eateroo, and we're an omni-channel social commerce solution that helps small kitchens benefit from user content. Online food delivery in Indonesia is a $3.7 market that's growing fast. Penetration rate is still under 10%, which means that the potential is huge. More and more of Indonesia's 5 million F&B merchants are selling online. But just because they are digitized does not mean that they are selling at capacity. In fact, a franchise outlet can get as many as 200 orders a day, in comparison to an MSME player receiving as few as 3 to 5 orders a day. Small players actually make up the biggest segment of the F&B market, but they are underselling because the trust factor is just not the same when it comes to ordering from a small F&B brand. This is where Eateroo comes in. Ever send a video or photo of the food you're eating to your WhatsApp group? Eateroo bridges content creators to F&B brands so that anyone's content can help a small F&B business achieve brand visibility to sell more food. How does it work? Let's say you're having Sate Padang in BSD. You upload your food experience on the Eateroo app and tag the merchant. If the merchant accepts your post, it becomes a shoppable virtual storefront, and any sale generated from your content will give you a commission of 4%. Users are also able to share the link to their feed across any channel, which means that users are helping build brand visibility for their favorite F&B merchants starting in the Eateroo app, but going beyond that. We fully launched on the App Store and the Play Store in June, and we have more than 50,000 downloads so far, as well as over 2,000 merchants in Jabodetabek. Aside from helping the biggest segment of the F&B market sell more food, we are also helping users discover food in an immersive, visual, and hyperlocal way.
Discover homemade bomboloni on the Eater app, buy it anywhere, upload your feed on the app, and share it anywhere. At Eater, we believe that the creator economy can be leveraged to help MSME brands grow. And starting with our foothold in F&B, we plan to expand to lifestyle categories. If you would like to learn more or talk to us, please email us at hello@eateru.co.
Thank you very much, Eater, for the great presentation. And up next, we have Finku. Finku is a personal finance app focused in helping Indonesians manage their finances better by seamlessly getting a view of all their money all in one place. And for our guests who would like to know more about Finku, you can scan the QR code on the screen after the presentation.
Hi everyone. Here at Finku, our vision is to democratize finance for Indonesia. What this means is to empower all Indonesians to make the best financial decision and take charge of their finances regardless of their background. Our North Star is to create the TOS for Indonesia. And similar to TOS, we are starting with aggregation, allowing users to view all their money in one place, and expand to provide end-to-end banking services to the millions of Indonesians. Why start with aggregation? Simply because there's a unique problem in Indonesia that hasn't been solved yet. First, on average, a banked Indonesian would have 4 financial accounts, 2 bank accounts, and 2 e-wallets, more than any other Southeast Asia market where on average there's only 2. This fragmentation is caused by discount offerings by financial players to fight for users' transactions, causing a complication for users to manage their money. Now couple this with a low financial literacy, one of the lowest in Southeast Asia. This results in poor outcomes for Indonesians, where household savings rate is at 8.5%, which is one of the lowest in Southeast Asia, and a huge number of people, of 7 million people, spending 2 to 4 hours managing their finance per week and unsatisfied with these services. To solve these issues, we created a solution to help Indonesians manage their money easily. First, we provide users a single view of all their finances to remove the need of manual inputs, providing industry-leading 22 integrations across banks, e-wallets, and investment players. Second, we provide users with personalized insights through a data-driven manner to guide them on how to grow their financial literacy and further save. Third, we provide budgeting tools powered with our own proprietary machine learning model that categorize every transaction to help users prevent overspending. And lastly, in Finku, we're able to detect all your bills and have it to show in the calendar view to prevent you from paying late bills. We are currently the leading player in the space in active users and growing exponentially at 33% week over week since publicly launching our application 2 months ago. We continue to see strong signs of product market fit and are continuing to double down on growth to help the millions of Indonesians in need. Thank you, and we're looking forward to connect with those keen to build the trusted financial companion for Indonesians.
Thank you very much, Finku. And up next, we have Fishlog. So Fishlog is a fisheries startup that aims to build the biggest nationwide B2B fisheries cold chain network. For those of you who like to find out more about Fishlog, you can scan the QR code on the screen after the presentation.
Hi everyone. I am Bayu from Fishlog. We are building Indonesian fisheries cold chain networks. Indonesia fisheries value chain has a lot of problems. In the ecosystem level, we are facing seafood waste loss. we lost 7 billion US dollar per year. It's almost 40% of the total Indonesian fish resources. It has happened because of lack of connectivity between the players. They are very fragmented, both for the supply side and the demand side. In the stakeholder level, doing seasonal business like seafood is quite hard, both for the supply side, which is fishermen, and then for the demand side, which is B2B buyers and retailers. They facing a lot of problems, like uncertainty supply, quality and payment issue, volatile price, and many others. All of those problems is lead to lack of trust doing business. How you doing business if you don't have fully trust to your partners? Coming from all of those problems, Fishlock seeing a huge opportunity to solve their problem. We built Fishlock Marketplace Commerce. It is end-to-end solution to connect supply side to meet with the demand side with seamless experiences. Fishlock provides trusted supply and demand alternative, ensure the payment process, quality assurance, assisting the handling for the logistic process. For now, we developed two business models. The first one is marketplace. We are connecting aggregator from the supply side to meet with distribution for the demand side. We take 5% commissioning from it. Then the second model is directly dealing with fishermen and end buyers. We develop local operation on the supply side and the demand side. For you, anyone who are interested to solve the most challenging problem in this food sector, let's join with us and solving the problem together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fishlock. And up next, we have Gajiku. Gajiku is an employee payment solutions for workers to access earned but unpaid wages. And for those of you who like to check out Gajiku, you can scan the QR code on the screen after the presentation.
Hi, I'm Sherman and I'm the co-founder of Gajiku. Gajiku is an on-demand payroll and people management solution that allows employees to access salary on demand. Underbanked employees in Indonesia typically live paycheck to paycheck. If they have emergency expenses, they have to find other sources of cash but are unable to get loans from institutions. As a result, they will take high-interest loans from loan sharks and unregulated sources of financing. This causes many employees to get caught up in debt cycles and results in high turnover for employers. Gajiku allows employees to seamlessly withdraw salary advances in just minutes. We charge a transaction fee of around 3% per transaction. Because of our low fees, Gajiku is a fairer and cheaper alternative compared to other options in the market. Our solution is significantly de-risked with an NPL of almost 0%. Whilst onboarding our clients, we found opportunities to automate people management processes in Indonesia and have developed a full suite of enterprise solutions in attendance, payroll dispersal, and KPI tracking, just as a way to increase product stickiness. Gajiku now works with over 29 enterprise clients and has a total employee pool of 40,000 employees. We are backed by some of the top VCs and angel investors in Indonesia. Our vision has always been to be the #1 platform for companies to pay and support their hardworking employees. If you want to find out more, please hit us up.
Thank you very much, Gajiku. And up next, we have Imagine. So Imagine is a manufacturing hub where everyone can easily choose a local manufacturer to create its product. But first, let us say hello from Chendi of Imagine. Chendi, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So Imagine, you're literally making imaginations into reality with your manufacturing hub. So tell us more about Imagine. What is it about?
Yes, indeed. The background in Imagine is actually Indonesia is the manufacturing country. the manufacturing sectors is the largest contributors of the GDP, but nobody was touching it, and people are very difficult to find these manufacturers. I was working as a manufacturing consultant back then, so during the time I introduced a lot of people who looking for manufacturers, and in 2018 we decided to create a platform so people can easily to connect with the local manufacturers to create whatever they want.
Thank you so much, Chendi. Very, very useful. I'm sure so many people are looking for you right now. Well, Chendi, here it is. Let us present to you the presentation of yours. And for those of you who would like to find out more about Imagine, you can check out the QR code on the screen after Chendi's presentation. Let's check it out.
Hi, my name is Chendi Jaya, CEO and founder of Imagine. Imagine is SaaS-enabled marketplace that focuses on digitalized manufacturing ecosystem in Indonesia. Do you know that manufacturing in Indonesia is the largest contributor of the GDP, which is around 211 billion US dollar. Imagine is focused on fabricated metal product and transportations, which contributes around $31.8 billion per annum. The problem that we are facing in the manufacturing industry, these manufacturers are highly fragmented. 3 out of 5 local manufacturers don't even have a website. We cannot search them on Google. And the second problem, there are lack of material suppliers that support small manufacturers. And the third, they are very difficult to scale because of limited capital. That is why Imagine comes with solutions. In 2019, we launched Marketplace for manufacturers to help them to find a project and matchmaking another project in one platform. We are giving SaaS for them to ensure the quality assurance and also real-time monitoring. That is why in 2020, we are appointed by Indonesia Ministry of Industry to be a national manufacturing hub. And 2021, we become the end-to-end platform that support these manufacturers to connect with raw material suppliers and also financial institute through Imagine. Currently, we have served more than 70 B2B manufacturers and have over 200 manufacturing partners that join the ecosystem. Imagine is end-to-end solution for manufacturing, and we are focused on the manufacturing industry to digitalize 4.0 industrial. Thank you.
Creating imaginations to reality. Thank you very much, Imagine. And up next, we have Keita. So Keita is a conversational commerce tool, and it empowers social commerce sellers to increase productivity and efficiency of their business operations through an all-in-one keyboard application. But first, let's chat with Jacqueline from Keita. Hey, Jacqueline, I hope you're doing well. So how does Keita work and operate?
Hi. Good to be here today. Thank you. So Keita is actually an agnostic keyboard technology. So how Keita operates is whenever a user install our app, they could activate our keyboard, and voila, you can actually utilize our keyboard to sell online even easier on any platforms that you're on.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. So it's a one-hub solution, and it makes your life easier. Love that. Well, everyone, for those of you who would like to check out Keita, do not hesitate to just scan the QR code after the presentation on the screen. Let's check it out.
Hi everyone, I'm Jacqueline, founder and CEO of Keita, and thank you for having me here today to share a bit about our startup. So as we all are well aware, almost everyone everywhere today owns mobile phones, and we are very dependent on it. Therefore, the keyboard that you see on your phone becomes a very important daily necessary tool for communications and activities. So what we are building here in Keita is called Key-commerce or keyboard commerce, where we provide efficiency and convenience to social commerce sellers, or commonly known as online sellers, with just our keyboard. Our target users are in the conversational commerce space, where they are selling on and through social medias and chat platforms. So let's imagine yourself as an online seller, where you are selling on multiple sales channels such as Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp. The main problem you're going to face daily would be having difficulty servicing many customers and their orders from all these different platforms. Also, making it tedious to aggregate and track all of your sales transactions. Moreover, you would have to download other supporting apps which would take up more of your phone memory space just to fulfill your other operational needs such as generating invoices, managing sales reports, and even ordering courier pickup online. So that's why we are here to bring you the go-to all-in-one solutions, Kira. Kira is a smart keyboard that enhances your online setting experience. It is agnostic and embedded to your phone, which allows it to be used anytime and anywhere from Instagram DM, Facebook Messengers, to even WhatsApp chats. Kira keyboard is equipped with easily accessible features like invoice creation, auto text to reply customers faster with one click, compare shipping fees and from various expeditions, as well as ordering the pickup services right on the keyboard. And of course, our app will monitor all of your transaction statuses, produce automatic sales report, and provide a simple analytics on your business performance. Kira aims to grow with you and your business, which inspired our selections of advanced features. We have e-invoice available for those who would like to look professional with a PDF invoice, and also product catalog where you can create your own shop website easily and instantly from the app. And we are coming up with more advanced features such as payment collections, BNPL services, access to working capital loans, and many others. Our app and its basic features are free for everyone to utilize, and we are charging per module activation for the advanced features. So let me end my presentations with a final note, which is let's all start driving key-commerce so that Kira Keyboard can be the key for all online sellers in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kira. So up next, we have Creative Hub. Creative Hub is a platform that connects and engages creative talent with talent seekers in the Indonesian creative industry. For those of you who would like to check out Creative Hub, please scan the QR code on the screen after this presentation.
Hi, I'm Nicholas, founder and CEO of Creative Hub. Creative Hub is a marketplace platform that provides easy access for anyone looking to hire professional freelancers in the creative industry. My co-founder and I built Creative Hub to transform the way freelancers in the creative industry get hired and provide equal career opportunities for freelancers wherever they are. Having years of experience working in the creative industry ourselves, we know what it feels like struggling early on to get clients as a freelancer. Until 2025, more and more MSMEs are looking to go digital and hire freelancers to provide them with digital assets in order to stay competitive in the market. These challenges and problems currently exist for both freelancers and business owners. Freelancers have trouble marketing their services and getting clients, especially without prior network, a problem I experienced personally in the past. Meanwhile, MSMEs have difficulties finding the right freelance services to help them with creating digital assets, such as logo, social media posts, product photos, and videos. They are worried about spending money on hiring freelancers that would result in low quality work. Creative Hub makes it easy for anyone to look for professional freelancers in the creative industry. Users save time and can browse freelance services easily by category, price, and location with a simple and secure booking system. Our freelancers can earn an income from clients all over Indonesia. What's also great about our platform is that we are more than just a marketplace. Through our platform ecosystem, we provide an end-to-end solution for freelancers' production workflow. This also allows our freelancers to work together on jobs, expand their network, and also learn new skills through our education platform, Creative Academy. We charge commission fee to buyers and sellers for each successful transaction, and also offer a premium membership for freelancers to access more features. Now, with more than 14,000 talents signing up on our platform, we are the fastest growing freelancing platform in the Indonesian creative industry. These are some of the amazing works that our freelancers produce for their clients through Creative Hub. We aim to accelerate MSME's digitalization and propel the Indonesian creative industry by making professional freelance services accessible to anyone through Creative Hub. We also envision Creative Hub to be ingrained in every step of the careers of all freelancers in the creative industry. If you'd like to be a part of the gig economy transformation, you can reach out to me through my number or email. I'm Nicholas. Thank you for watching.
Thank you very much, Creative Hub. And up next, we have PowerBrain. PowerBrain is an energy management company that utilizes IoT and automation technology to optimize energy consumption in a building. To check out PowerBrain, please scan the QR code on the screen after this next presentation.
Hi, my name is Irfan and I am from PowerBrain. PowerBrain is an energy management company which utilizes smart technology in order to drop down the cost as well as to simplify the process. Now, by using our technology, business can save tons of money every year. Energy is being exploited in an unprecedented rate every year, but at the same time, it is being consumed inefficiently. 9 out of 10 buildings that we found are consuming 25% more energy compared to its optimal condition, which is mostly due to human error. The data that are being taken, that they're being collected to keep the building optimal is being done manually, which is prone to human error. Meanwhile, on the other hand, the smart and the conventional energy management solutions is not an option yet due to its extremely high prices and also complex process. By using our solutions, business can save 140 trillion rupiah annually. We are delivering the solutions. Holistically, we have the IoT hardware, which is collecting the data in real time and also to control the existing equipment in the building. The installation process is very simple and very safe. It only takes 15 minutes for each equipment to be installed. Now your devices can be controlled directly through our smart algorithm. Also, we are providing the platform for you to track the performance of our system. We have a very interesting business model. We do not impose any charge fee into our customer upfront, but rather we impose 30 to 40% of the reduction that we can make every month. By using this business model, we can help business, our customer, to adopt the solutions easily, as well as to help the business grow sustainably. We have a various successful case study. This is one of them, Kimia Pharma store in Jakarta. Prior to the implementation, based on our energy audit, we found that the HVAC system is the major contributor towards their energy consumption. By using our system, we are controlling the HVAC based on the environmental condition and also based on the occupancy. And by the end of the month, we can save 40% compared to prior to implementation. We understood fully the game of the business. We are delivering the product which are simple, and also we are delivering the products holistically based on the customer needs. In our first year of operation, we have been generating revenue close to 1 billion rupiah. And we also providing impact not only economically but also environmentally, as we reduce the carbon emissions, as we conserve the energy. This is our team. Me, myself, has an expertise in energy conservation and also energy automation. Me helped by Faris Azmi to build the solutions, and also me helped by Relwanu to deliver, to market the products. So that's the brief introduction from PowerBrain. Thank you for having me.
Very powerful. Thank you very much, PowerBrain. And up next, we have Sgara. Sgara provides end-to-end solutions for shrimping farming, ranging from probiotic feed and financing, AI-powered pond monitoring and consulting, and access to quality feed, probiotics, buyers, and hatcheries. For those of you who like to check out Sgara, do not hesitate to just scan the QR code on the screen after the presentation.
Hi everyone, I'm Jason, founder and CEO of Sgara, your shrimp farm companion since day one. I'm a second-generation shrimp farmer, but my farm suffered 3 years of bad harvest, resulting in billions of rupiah lost. We thought shrimp farming was simple, so we traveled around Indonesia and learn from other shrimp farmers. And we found out we're not the only ones who are suffering from these losses. And it turns out that more than 50% of shrimp farms are actually failing. Banks even consider shrimp farming as high risk. As we dig deeper, we found out that most farmers aren't farming right. They don't know how to procure good quality shrimp larvae, and they don't have the technical knowledge and SOP. When they don't have an SOP, they can easily be compromised by disease, leading to losses that could end up in bankruptcy. So we built Segara. Segara offers an end-to-end solution for shrimp farmers, starting from financing their supplies, larvae procurement and counting through computer vision, AI-based farm management, and connection to shrimp buyers nationwide. We have helped lots of farmers. We have helped Pa Henry, a farmer in Sumbawa, increasing his yield by more than 91.8% and increase his feed efficiency by 40%, and ultimately increasing his margins drastically, from what usually are losses to a margin of 36% per cycle. So how do we help them? Firstly, we help them through Segara Finance, in which we aid them in terms of working capital. We finance them by supplying their feed and probiotics, accounting for 60% of their production cost. Once they have their feed and probiotics ready, we then help them select and count their shrimp larvae. Previously in hatcheries and farms, the counting method was very conventional. They use a spoon and count them 5 by 5. Meanwhile, we're counting millions of larvae. Therefore, we created an app that allows them to automatically count the number of larvae by simply taking a picture using their own smartphone. What usually takes hours now becomes seconds, and our error margin is less than 1%. Then, we help farmers in managing their aquaculture process. Our team monitors the farm on a day-to-day basis and ensure the farm follows our tailored day-to-day program until the end of the cycle. Finally, farmers will list their upcoming harvest to our e-bidding marketplace to get the best price for their shrimps. We're entering a massive market, since only by acquiring 5% of Indonesia's market share would accumulate $2.89 billion. With all of the services we provided, with financing, we charge 50% from their gross profit, and without financing, we charge 10%. This business model allows more farms to onboard since they don't have to pay anything upfront. Though we charge 10 to 50% of their gross profits, the farmers will still receive an increase from 10% up to 295% increase in their gross profits. And of course, we have the best team to execute this. We're shrimp farmers, technologists, directors of probiotics company, directors of feed company, and the technical director who has experience in managing hundreds of farms. Segara, your shrimp farm companion since day one. Thank you.
Great solutions from Segara. Thank you very much. And up next, we have Soul Parking. But first, please allow me to tell you a little bit about Soul Parking. It is an innovative parking management solution to Indonesia's traffic and street parking problems. But first, let us talk to Andrew from Soul Parking. Andrew, how are you doing today? Great. So, Andrew.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, how are you?
Very well. Thank you, Andrew. Sorry, there's a little bit of delay, I realized. So, Andrew, as we all know, in Indonesia, especially Jakarta, parking is a complete nightmare. I can barely park, let alone look for street parking. So the question is, how are you saving us poor souls from the nightmares of parking?
Yeah, definitely. I think we saw a lot of problems down there instead of, people looking for parking, and there's a lot of insufficient parking spot as well, right? So what we are trying to solve is basically that we do build, hardware and software solutions whereas our hardware is basically can increase the capacity, and whereas our software will basically help solve, the capacity, the transparency problems. So we try to revolutionize the way Indonesian parking works and the industry works as well. So hopefully we can become the market leader as well in Indonesia, and we can serve you guys all with our soul.
You are really going to save a lot of souls. Thank you so much, Andrew. Well, for those of you who would like to check out Soul Parking, please scan the QR code on the screen after the presentation. Let's check it out.
Hi everyone, my name is Andrew. I'm the CBO and also co-founders of Soul Parking. So for the past 15 years, Indonesia has faced traffic problems from bad to worse. The first issue is the fast-growing number of vehicles dominated by motorcycles. So the second issue is the land limitations, the expensive land, which leads to illegal parking, also traffic jams. So Seoul Parking has developed hardware and also software solutions that can solve the Indonesian parking problems. We are the pioneer on these hardware solutions that prove to solve the capacity problems. So our compact motorcycle storage needs only 60 meters square plot of land, can contain 240 motorcycles. Simple comparisons with conventional parking, we are basically increasing the capacity by 8 times, while charging the same parking fee, improving the efficiency of searching and also waiting time. We are 100% safe, we're equipped with CCTV and also insurance to cover all of that, and we have proven to double the net income for the landowner. So our smart app also allows our user to find and book parking spot, use cashless payments, and also request for the early checkout to save time. So with our solutions, software solutions, we simplify the reporting process by providing the live dashboard to our landowners. The dashboard allows our landowners to access all the data in real time, such as customer data, payment data, and also the transaction report daily, monthly, and even yearly. So what are the differences between us and also the conventional players? So our operating system has lower capital costs, transparent, automated process, much more efficient and also easy to operate. So our business model is divided by 2 types. First is the hardware business model, where we can work on the partnership, guaranteed income or rental, and also the equipment sale scheme. So second is the software business model, where we can work on the partnership and also guaranteed income scheme. So if you're the landowner, we can improve efficiency of your parking business. If you're a motorcycle rider, using our app, we can solve your parking problems. So we are Seoul Parking. With Seoul, we serve you all. Reach out to me to find out more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Seoul Parking. And up next, we have Zcare. Zcare is a holistic electronic medical record solutions to upscale healthcare information and management system. But first, let us talk to Jesse from Zcare. Hi, Jesse. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Very well. Thank you so much. So, Jesse, how does Zcare operate and work? Tell us about it.
Okay, so basically, we are from Zcare. We are a tech company but focusing on the healthcare system, a healthcare provider like hospitals and clinics. The main reason for Zcare is we want to optimize the healthcare services in Indonesia. So healthcare services in Indonesia can have the same quality, just like our neighbor, Singapore or Malaysia or even Australia. So that's how we try to achieve.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Jesse. Well, many of us can't wait to check out your presentation. And of course, for those of you who would like to find out more about Zcare, do not hesitate to just scan the QR code after the presentation. Let's check it out.
Hi, my name is Jesse. I'm the founder and CEO of Zcare Indonesia. We are the first electronic medical company in Indonesia. Why Indonesia? The Indonesian healthcare system is the worst in Southeast Asia and one of the worst in the world. Comparing with Singapore, we are half behind in numbers of beds, doctors, and nurses. The result is long patient queues at hospitals and poor patient care. To make things worse, our primary system is inefficient. 80% of medical records are still paper-based. This has resulted a staggering $6 billion delayed government insurance claim payments. Zcare is the answer. We will raise the standards of Indonesian healthcare with EMR Level 7 technology. It's the standard medical record in places like US, China, Singapore, and other advanced countries. We are the first and only Indonesian state-of-the-art complete EMR system designed for hospitals and patients. Hospitals that are now using Zcare EMR are 30% more efficient, and their insurance claim to disbursement ratio increased by 30%. Overall, more efficient hospitals provide better healthcare to their patients. We are growing really fast. We started with 1 hospital in 2019. We have grown hugely in just 2 years. And now we are at 81 hospitals using our systems. Hospitals in Indonesia are notoriously hard to sell to, but we've been able to do it. We understand the specific problem hospitals in Indonesia face. We have been able to build a system that gives them what they need the most. We incorporate